So what you're about to see is what should have been a paranormal investigation at Shrewsbury Prison. Now, the prison itself and the staff there themselves were fantastic. The event company tried to arrange things, but there was a team at this location that just couldn't shut up. They were Yvette Fielding whistling the entire night. Every time a cat ball or a REM pod or something went off, they didn't look to debunk it or look for any logical explanation. They got excited and started shouting and do it again. They absolutely ruined the night for me. I imagined, I know some of the event company that are no longer with that event company were legitimately pissed off for them. People left and went home early because of them. I filmed them at one point in the night because the cat balls, the REM pod, everything was going off. They were getting so excited. But they were speaking to people like crap as well. You know, if they'd walk through a part of the prison they were in, they'd shout to you, watch the gear, watch the cat balls, watch this, watch that, watch the other. I lost my rag with them. And yeah, they ruined the investigation. So before we get to the investigation, if you go on one of these events, and if you see people filming, and if you see people investigating and keeping their voices down, maybe do the same and show a bit of respect to other people, instead of whistling, throwing crap about, and at one point, actually playing music really loud through a Bluetooth speaker. I think at that point, they weren't investigating. At that point, they were actively trying to annoy other people there, hoping everyone would go home. Well, it worked. Absolute knobheads. Absolute knobheads. And to the lady that told me you worked for the Warren Foundation, I've checked up. There isn't a female working for the Warren Foundation in the UK, so your cat balls don't work and you lied. So enjoy the interview with the security officer from the prison. She was a lovely, lovely lady who spent a lot of time with me, walking me around Haunted Echo events, the guys that invited me and the guys that kept apologising to me through the night. No disrespect to you. That prison is too loud for an event for somebody to go and legitimately investigate, and it's too expensive to investigate on your own, which is a massive shame because it's an amazing building with an amazing history. It's just ruined. It was just ruined by one group that just didn't know how to shut up and show a bit of respect for other people out to enjoy themselves. And if any of you people do see this and you're annoyed at me, I really could care less. I wish I knew the name of your team because I'd name and shame you.
So Shrewsbury is reputed to be the most haunted place in the UK, one of them anyway. We found human activity from 2000 BC in one of the churches in Sutton, which is an area in Shrewsbury. It's got a long history of fighting with the Welsh. We've had battles here, very important battles, part of our royal family, and the parliamentaries and the royalists as well also fought here. This is way before the prison was built. So we've lost thousands of people. The Welsh burnt the town down to the ground twice. We have two ghosts here who are children from Housefire. So I think they are actually from that time, which is 13th century. Let me tell you about the prison. The prison, we're already hanging people at the castle. There's lovely stories about Bloody Jack, I could tell you. We also hung them at Heathgates, which is down there. And we've hung them all over, so we needed somewhere central to hang them. We were the execution centre of the West. So 1793, we built this place. Originally it had tunnels underneath. This was the Georgian time. And you were put in these cells with no windows, no air, by class. So if you had no money, you were all bunged in together. It didn't matter if you had rapists, murderers, whatever, you were all just stuffed together. Then the rich people went there, and then the rich people went there. So you could buy alcohol, you could buy food, but if you're poor and you couldn't afford food, you starved to death. So we had a lot of deaths that way, and obviously when you're putting murderers in with families and nobody's going to look at them, you can guess what happened there. Some of our ghosts, well, we've got one ghost. We have some paranormal activities, and we've had the same story come out with different guests. And the one lady is looking for her body in the tunnels. We're never going to find it. So the hanging started in 1795, which is 2 years after the prison was built, and it was a young man called John Smith. He was 21 and he stole 10 red handkerchiefs from a shop in Wales. The shop owner was called Cornelius Venables, which I think is the most fantastic name. He wasn't the only person to steal, as I was saying to you earlier, but he was the one that hung for it. And the fate of all the criminals was decided by the magistrates and the sheriffs, which is basically Shropshire, in 1066, was given over to 6 families. They were the ones that came over with William the Conqueror. They were soldiers, and this was their reward. So they did courts every quarter, and they decided. And if you go to Shropshire Archives and you look through all the prisoners' things, there was a thing called bastard debt, which I'd never heard of before. And basically, if you had a child out of wedlock and it ended up in the parish, these gentry guys were having to pay for your child. And they didn't like that. It cost them money. So you ended up in prison. The male one for a bastard debt, and the woman for being a lewd woman. So basically, in the Georgian area, you had 220 crimes you could be hung for, because they didn't want it to cost money. It was all about property for them. The equivalent of 30 quid today, you'd be hung for. So if you stole a ferret, if you stole a rabbit, if you went through a forest with a mask on because they thought you were poaching, this is some of the crimes I read about. There was one young lad, 17, he chopped down part of a hedge. So he hung for that. Stealing a deer, obviously, stealing a cow, stealing a sheep, being cruel to a horse. 2 young lads who were 15 who stole a pancake that somebody cooked and left out on a windowsill. They were from Much Wenlock, only 15 labourers. There was a young boy who was in service, he was only 11 years old. He was probably really homesick. He left the service, he did it. There were soldiers who deserted. We also hung women as well. And women, this is on the flat roof. When we first did the hanging, we did it publicly. So it's on the gallows, which there's a gatehouse there, and there's a flat roof. So it had the gallows there, and it was a short drop. Basically, you put a rope there. It's the same length for everybody. It didn't matter how high you were. Put it around there, did the lever, and you dropped. You basically strangled to death. Well, because it's the Georgian time, it wanted it to be a deterrent. They invited, you all had to go and watch. Instead of it being a deterrent, it became like a fete, like a party. Everyone brought alcohol and picnics, they took sketches, and after the hanging, the rope was taken down and sold, money for old rope. It was the hangman's jig, which they're dancing there was the strangling to death. And pulling your leg is when the family paid to do this on their legs to make the death a bit quicker. There were 3 Irishmen, they were highwaymen in Loppington, and they did an armed robbery, and they were big guys, and they got caught. If you had no defence lawyers, if you couldn't pay for your defence, that was it. The guy said, you did it, and you'd be hung. So they were hung, and the little one, he died quite quickly, but these 2 big lads couldn't get their hands there. It took them 20 minutes to die. It was really cruel. The women that died, the first one, Sarah Jones, she killed her newborn baby. She was out at Ironbridge, she threw it down an iron pit. She was 27, wasn't married. I think she had other children. But, I mean, she could have had postnatal depression. The child could have been disabled. She could have had no means of looking after it. Who knows, but she hung for that. But there were other women who had children who died, and they didn't get hung. They buried it in the garden. There was one called Hannah Child. And her father helped her bury the child, but they didn't hang. So it did seem to be if your face didn't fit. Most people were transported. There were 126 prisons in the UK about this time, and there were 147,000 people were transported. It was called Over the Seas for 7 years, basically to Australia. So you got transported or you got hung. And the last lady to be hung was called Anne Harris. I should say the ladies had their legs tied together when they were hung, the men didn't. And it was to stop upskirting. So we had that problem before the mobile phones, propriety, because I don't know whether they wore underwear, so they're swinging there, so that was done. She was like a matriarchal figure in a local town called Market Drayton. They're part of the Bravos, which was sheep brothels, obviously, a hanging fence. And she had a son called, I think he was called Thomas, though some people say it was called James, I'm not quite sure. And it was a bit simple, and he sold his sheep, and he got seen. And obviously his mum didn't want him to hang. So she had the witness killed, buried in a shallow grave, and he got away with it. His son got away with it because there was no witness. So, but a year later, because he was quite simple, he did it again. And this time, he got seen by a policeman, so there was no way out of it. But the son, when he went to court, he said, "Will you let me off if I tell you of a worse crime?" So he dobbed in his mother. So he went to Australia and she was hung. Anyway, the Victorians decided we were a bit cruel, I should say, to 1815 we were in tunnels. After that it became proper prison, and it was what they called the silent prison. So these guys came in here to work in silence. So it was 172 cells for the men, There were 3 cells with segregation, and then there was like the 23 for the females and children. Children from 7 were in here as well, because there was what we call the Bridewell, House of Correction, and so they amalgamated the 2, save money, bring them all together. And the silence system was really, it was hard labour, hard fare, hard board, so there was no mattress. Your food was basically gruel for the morning supper, and then at lunchtime you had a bit of beef, potato and some bread, depending on how you worked. Now the guys had this thing called a treadmill, which was like a wheel, like a hamster wheel, 40 men, they're holding it like this, standing doing this all day. You've seen the Shard in London? Imagine that 9 times. That's how high they climbed, and this thing kept coming. It was called a shin breaker. If you didn't keep stepping, it broke your legs or gave you hernias, life-changing injuries. If you couldn't do that, you had what was called a crank wheel. You sat there, but it was in sand, and you're doing it with one arm, pulling like this. If the prison officer didn't like you, you turned the screw. That's where screws come from. The other thing I think is pretty horrific was called the shot drill, and you had a like 32-pound weight. You had to pick it up without bending your knees, pick it up, hold your chest, step twice to the right, put it down again, or break rocks. It was completely pointless work. It was to demoralise you completely, because life was really grim out there. They didn't want you coming in here having a better time, so. Oh, they are horrible, isn't it? Well, anyway, the Victorians thought we were a bit cruel, so gradually this place was knocked down and rebuilt by the prisoners, and it became to be a bit more kind, you know, trying to rehabilitate people rather than just punish them. And also the Georgian Bloody Code stopped, and there was just the 5 crimes you could be hung for as well, which I can't remember what they all are, but it's piracy, burning the royal docks, murder, and things like that, rather than stealing a ferret. So it's a bit cruel, or a pancake, or a pork pie. There was a woman put in here for a pork pie. So in 1922, the women stopped coming here, and then it was a borstal. This is just in C Wing, and then it was the vulnerable prisoners, which is your paedophiles, your police officer, your politicians, and it's called the nonce wing. And nonce wing isn't as bad as you think. In Victorian times, when they were going out for their walk, they'd walk anti-clockwise in a big circle, and it was to wind back time to repent of your sins. The paedophiles, they thought were so evil, there was no point making them walk in an anti-clockwise way. They were just too evil. So that's why it's not on normal circular exercise, or not on normal courtyard exercise. Did you want some ghost stories? The Grey Lady, as we call it, we're not very imaginative, Grey Lady, she is based in C Wing, but she's been seen in the Governor's office, and she's been seen by the film crew from Holby City. They were using it as a prop room, and Jay, the runner, turned around and saw this woman there, and sort of said nobody should have been there because it's a skeleton crew when the prison has a film crew, which is quite often. So he went to see her, and she just disappeared into the cellars. Now, she's been seen in this hallway walking in. We've actually got a photograph of her. I've got a photograph on my phone of her, which one of our staff members took. It took him 9 years to get it. She's in cell 3. I've been stood in the doorway of cell 3 on one of our ghost tours, and I was being very naughty, going to jump scare the guests. So I was quietly stood in the doorway while the guests were downstairs having their talk. And I had 2 hands push me quite forcefully out of the cell, and I thought, I'm being brave. Was the door behind me? Was it the door? Was it my bag? There was no way I could have had 2 hands there. Now I think it's the children we have there, but yeah. Every ghost tour now, I now make a lady stand there during our tour, and some of them have felt like prickles and things like that. It's cold, but it is good. We had 2 ladies in one of our paranormals. They were there on their own, and they were just sat there with their phone thing, and they heard footsteps going along the cell, and they were just absolutely paralysed with fear. And these really heavy footsteps just stopped just before the open door and then disappeared. And they came to find us, and they were actually in tears. They were so stressed. So we also have what's called Shadow Man. He's a prison officer. He died in A Wing one night. He was a big smoker. He had a heart attack on the stairs, died. He wasn't found until the morning. He has seen quite a lot. On one of our ghost tours last week and the week before, about 4 or 5 people actually saw him. He was walking through. I told you it's getting very active on our ghost tours. People usually get photographs of orbs. We've had people get photographs of figures. What we tell them to do is take 3 very quick photographs, 1, 2, 3, then look back. And so very often the second one is the one that will have something. And if you video, sometimes afterwards you look back and see the orbs. We've seen orbs in the shower room in Sea Wing, even with our eyes, not just the phone. We have 2 children that play there. They're called Frankie and William. We do actually leave toys out for them, and they'll roll balls back to us. One of our staff members who does not believe in any of this, she had a ping pong ball. We found it just before the rave, actually, and she was just banging it. It went up to the roof and it just disappeared. And I was with her, it was under the stairs, and she was like, where'd it go? And we like, it went that way. It was in her pocket under a jacket. She still hasn't got over that. Most of our staff can tell you stories. Cleaner Dennis has doors slammed in his face. He said he's all right, didn't mind about that. He said one day he was there, he's just had his back to it, down Sea Wing by the spiral staircase. He said the pin moved. He said that was it. He said I had to go out for a fag. He said, oh, that frightened me. I won't tell you what he said because he swore, but yeah. So we have Shadow Man, the Grey Lady, we have the 2 children, and we also have Larry the Butcher. But we have more than that because we were doing with Nights Behind Bars, which isn't a ghost tour, but some of the guests wanted to go with me to do, and we're sitting in cell 3. And while we were sitting in cell 3, there was nobody else there, the radio came on in cell 6, I think it was. I didn't even know there was radio on. So this 1950s music was coming, so I was like, crept there and looked there, thinking, nobody would go in to turn it off. And there was no voice with it, and then we just said, is that Spirit? And then the music changed. And we thought, right, we'll go for coffee now, this is too much. So we sent one of the other staff members in to turn it off, and so he came in, he went in, turned the radio off, unplugged it, and it still worked, still going on. So he left it unplugged, came back. When we came back into Sea Wing, the radio was plugged back in, and yet nobody had been there, so that was only last week. It's getting very active. I think it's because I'm part of the paranormal team. I've only been here since February. I think they get to know us and they trust us. I've been told that George comes here, George Riley likes the news story because we now found out recently who did it, or we think we did it. This is from locals. They say it was his brother, his older brother, who became a tramp and disappeared. And George has told a medium who came on with these things that he's very happy with the news story, and that is how it happened. So, what else do you want to know? You're going to have to edit this so much. It's nearly 9 o'clock.
What I can do is I can edit it when they get some B-roll and stuff as well. So when you're talking about the sea cell,
I'm just thinking it must be getting on to 9 o'clock. Have you got a thing? I'm just I have to let your guests in.
It's 22.
Oh, 22, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I can tell you about the hanging, but you probably don't need to know that. So.
Was anyone actually hanging with this rope or in this?
Not this rope, because they used a different rope for each hanging, so that the soul didn't go into the executioner. We had the Pierpoint family, did all the hangings here. So in 1901, it was Richard Wigley was the first hanging. Henry Pierpoint was a carpenter in Manchester. He was only 24 and he decided he was a bit bored with the 9 to 5. So he wrote to the Home Office and said, I think I'd make a really good executioner. And the Home Office wrote back and said, well, we need one. Why don't you come to Newgate? So we had a week at Newgate hanging straw bales. Then he came to Shrewsbury and his first hanging was Richard. And that was called the long drop method. It was done at the back. That was done by the weight of the prisoner. So they weighed him, the height of him, his neck, and had a metal bar under there. So they broke the vertebrae, C1 and C2. So it was more humane.
Yeah.
So the night before they would hang like sandbags on the rope to pull out any tension. In the condemned cell there, they were sleeping by the noose, but they didn't know. There was a doorway there and they had a bookcase across it. And in the morning of hanging, always 8 a.m, they'd move the bookcase, he'd be tied there, hands behind his back, he'd come out to the trap door. The assistant would tie his legs together, the executioner would put a white silk thing, noose, hang him. And it was all done within like 8 seconds. I know, because he might have fainted or fought back or something. So we had 10 hangings here, the last one was being George Riley, 1961, who we believe was innocent. George was a little butcher, not a little butcher, apparently he was a really nice lad, he was a bit of a lad, he was a big lad, funny, quite nice, like the girls, like going out with his mates. And on the night of the murder that happened, he was out there in Shrewsbury and had a bit of a kerfuffle. I got a fight as he did, the police sent him home, he didn't have a scratch on him, and that night his neighbour, who was in her 60s, was murdered. Apparently it was a robbery, then nothing was stolen, but she was absolutely bludgeoned to death upstairs. In fact, so much blood on the wall that there was a silhouette of the killer. So anyway, George was arrested for it that night, still in the same clothes, not a speck of blood on his clothes, and then a written confession the next day. Yet George had the reading age of an 11-year-old. beautiful confession. Anyway, his family got a petition up, like 2,000 people, it's there, and sent it to the Queen. So the Queen read a newspaper, kicked a corgi, and went, meh. So he was still hung. But we reckon it was his older brother who disappeared, later became a tramp with red boots, but had a really violent temper. So we think it was him, John, that did it. But poor old George took the rap for it. He's only 21. So then we ask our guests, do you believe in hanging still? You know, because innocent men were hung, without a doubt. But nowadays we have DNA, so who knows? Yeah, we do say, when we bring up guests, we just say, what do you think about the Southport killer? And most of them say paedophiles should be hung. But you've got to be very sure that they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very sure. And maybe there's better ways. But it was quick, and they used to hang there, so they went down to the drop room, they'd hang there for an hour, and then they'd have a doctor to make sure that they were hung and not any other way of dying. Because although they'd be brain dead, the heart would still be beating, and obviously all the fluids would come out. Oh. Yeah, and then the rope would be burnt to stop the soul going into the executioner. And the Pierpoint family, I should have said, Henry became the executioner, and then his brother did it, because it's quite a glamorous job, you got to travel. Then his son Albert did it, and between them they did over 800 hangings, including the Nuremberg trials in Germany. Albert also hung Ruth Ellis. In fact, there's a recording of him on YouTube talking about it, and said, oh, she was as good as gold. So he retired in 1964. We stopped hanging altogether, it was stopped. When we came out with Brexit out of the EU, we can bring it back. The EU laws stopped us having the death penalty. Since we left, we actually could legally have the death penalty again. I don't know whether we ever will.
Scary thought.
It's a scary thought. I'll leave you with that then, so I'll probably get a...
Alright guys, Beardo here, and I am at Shrewsbury Prison. I've been invited along by Haunted Echoes. They're an events company, but they haven't invited me along as part of the event. They've basically said we'll be certain areas of the prison and then you can just go off and do your own thing, which I really, really appreciate. So, I'll be fair, I've been kind of treated like royalty. But a gift bag given to me, and I had the prison curator basically walk me around the prison, show me what's what, with specific hauntings are rumoured to be, give me the history that you guys will have seen at the beginning. So I've been treated really, really well. Everyone here knows I'm a debunker. Everyone knows that I'm here for the truth, and it's been cool so far. I've basically been watching other teams at the beginning. There's a bit I filmed of a spirit box session. I don't know if I'll include it in this video, but the usual sort of investigation stuff. I've just been watching other people see what they do, and they seem to have a lot of fun with it. So I am in, I believe this is the warden's office or governor's office. So I'm in the governor's office, and they've got apparently the old governor haunts this room and the next room next door. And also there's a story of a grey lady seen in that hallway there whilst a TV show called Holby City was filming. So they went here for a paranormal thing. It was a set guy, he was coming to get some props or something, saw a lady walk past, got a bit freaked out, said to the curator and security, you know, there's somebody in here, and there wasn't. So I'm going to go lights out. I've peeled away from everybody else. They're sort of in the cells and in A and C wing. So I've kind of got this little area myself. So we'll have a little walk around. So this would obviously have been the receptionist room. So you've got the jailers and governors of Shrewsbury Prison up on there. It might be a bit too much glare, but you'll be able to pause that for a look. Prison service, roll of honour. Same there. Same there. So the guy from Holby saw somebody walk this way. So I'm going to set a camera in here somewhere. The room I did my bit to camera in, and this room. I believe somebody said that radio was turned on its own at some point, so I'd love to see that. So go back to the governor's room.
I know you guys are used to me not having equipment, but I've actually got a little bit. This is all from AppyDroid Development. So we have their version of the dead bell. I've not got this set for the motion sensor because I'll be too close to it. We've got like an EMF puck. This will be an EMF bell. Now my phone. I'll set this one off. But this should only go off for static EMF, so that's cool. And then we've got this little candle, which is really cool because it's not only a candle, but you can see there's a little hole there. So you've got to get quite close to it and put a bit of force for that to go out. So the only way that'll go out is if the battery runs out or if somebody blows into it. And I think if you speak quite close to it, there you go. So if you speak quite close to it, it goes off as well. Cool little things. Right, I think the battery's actually gone on this puck, so I'm going to turn it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go lights out. I'm going to sit. That's not the governor's chair, but you know it's the governor's desk where his chair would have been. I'm just going to sit here, see if anything happens in here. I'm going to place this other camera in the other room where apparently he's been seen. And I've also got these sent by H that sent me the Zoom microphone. He sent me a pair of infrared binoculars, but they record video. So basically I can use this as another static cam. I'm going to find a way to mount this somehow to my rig. So I'm in the governor's room. I've got these devices behind me. So if we get a static style of EMF, this will change colour and ring. And this candle should blow out if something blows or speaks into it. Just up there, I've got the IR binoculars looking out into the door where the grey lady was seen. And in the next room, where the governor is apparently said to haunt, I've got my other static camera. So I'm going to do some calling out. Make sure I get these devices in shot as well. So we've got the devices in shot there. Is there anyone here with me right now? So the governor of Shrewsbury Prison. Could you come forward and let yourself be known, please? Could you use your voice? Or could you bang? Or if not, I've got two devices on the table there. One is a candle. If you speak into it, it'll go out and I'll know you're with me. And I've got a bell that you can touch. See if you can make that go off. There is some outside noise, cars or trains or something. I believe there's a nightclub not too far away as well, so obviously if I hear those types of things I'll call out. I can hear the train moving now. We've got a fantastic building here. Beautiful building. Right, there was like a there was a train off in the distance. Could you come and say hello, please? That's a train. So there's a lot of outside interference, so I'll need you to be clear. So could you bang on your desk, please? Do you mind me sitting behind your desk? Does it bother you that this prison now allows people in off the streets to do investigations? A voice then, that's somebody from outside shouting. The only problem is a lot of contamination from the street. We're quite close to a train station. And obviously there are numerous teams here. There's guests on tours. But I'll call out, those things as I hear them. Could you make a noise for me, please? Or could the lady in grey show herself? That sounded like a firework or something from outside. This is the noisiest place ever. Come on, come forward. Inmates, workers, the governor, lady in grey. My name is Dale. Come and introduce yourself to me. That's my shoe squeaking on the chair. So I'm what you would call sceptical. I don't dismiss the idea of ghosts. We're becoming more sceptical by the day. Could you do something to reinvigorate my love of the paranormal for me, please? There's a camera in the other room. Could you go there, please? Show yourself there if you're nervous of me. So from what I was told of the history of Shrewsbury, the Welsh did a lot of damage here. Destroyed buildings, encroached on the land. Well, I'm a Welshman. I come from South Wales. Does that annoy you? So while the outside is quite noisy, in here is it's pretty dead. Pardon the pun. Very quiet, no creaking, no cracking. Could you move something? Or shout something? If you are in one of these rooms, let me know which room and I can come to you. Silent in this room. So I'm going to go into the room where I've got a static camera. I'll leave the equipment on the desk and that infrared camera there. So is there anyone in this room with me, please? Is the governor here? Yeah, this is where the governor is spotted. Right, there's actually somebody coming now.
Oh God, sorry, 2 meters blind.
It's alright. I don't need my eyes.
Hello, Guido.
Hello.
Alright, darling.
Yeah,
Long time no see.
Hello.
Oh,
I
okay.
just realised who you are in that.
Yeah.
So I've cut the cameras there. The guys I went to East Drive with last year, they've just randomly walked into me. I don't think they knew I was here. I didn't know they were here. So I don't know what we were asking, but nothing's happened in the meantime. My camera was rolling, but I'll cut it all out. So my name's Dale. And so far I'm having a very quiet night. Could you come and say hello, please? Could you give me a sign that you're here with me? I can hear people talking and singing. I've been one of the, I think they're on A block. Sound travels a lot in here. And my device is still on. Of course they are. I think I can hear bass from the nightclub. It's crazy how much the noise travels around this. This room seems to be the quietest one. Is the governor here with me, please? I've got these devices on the table. Could you trigger one of those devices for me before I move, please? Touch them or blow on them. That's what she said. I'd love to know if you were here. been investigating here for about 47 minutes. It's 20 to 11 now. As you can see, you can't see, but it's a clear night. You can see the moon up there. You can see the stars, so it's quite a clear night. Warm. I'm in shorts and t-shirt. Some people wearing coats and stuff. Yeah, it's very warm night, no rain. There was a little bit earlier when I first got here, but nothing much. Managed to get the drone up in time. So before I leave this area, could you please show yourself? Or use your voice? I think we'll call this shit. Okay, so I got a light down. Just do a little walk through from the office block. That's the A cell or A block. I don't know what this lot is down here. We'll have a little look. That's a roped off staircase, so I'm not going to go down there. Exit, I'm guessing that goes outside. So we're going to have a look at A block, which is I think it's 3 stories, or 3 levels. So we can solve 5 that suggest need intense monitoring. I think there's air conditioning in that room. I think this was a secure unit. Segregation unit. Stripped cell in cell 2. So the design behind, or the reason behind this is it's for noisy inmates. So they'd be locked in there, and this extra room was to stop the noise coming out to disturb the other cellmates. How basic. Hi guys, so I am in A block. I think I'm on my own. Everyone seems to have gone now. I've been watching the other teams and the events. So we're on the ground floor. I'm going to go up a bit and just sit and call out. So I left all the gizmos and gadgets in the rec room. I just want to take a camera and a light with me, to be fair. Hi guys, so I am in A wing. I've got it myself. Everyone else is over in C wing or in the rec room. So I'm going to do some calling out up here. I'm on the middle floor. So there is a floor above me there. Oh, there's 2 floors. Wow, there's 4 floors. There's a little bit of There is a little bit of noise contamination from the rec room, but it can't be helped. It's a very echoey building. So typically, I was on my own. Everyone's just piled in here. Fuck's sake. Right, I'm just gonna take you guys on a walk around. I can't do much here. Oh, my camera keeps going out of focus. Maybe it's got a bit cold in here. I wonder why these cells are bricked up. Ah, prison hospital. Chapel room. Notorious killer's room. And we got probably the most sickening people. These pair. Fred and Rose West, they actually make me want to vomit. The sight of them. Absolutely disgusting what they did. If you listen to some paranormal channels now, they've just captured an EVP of Fred and Rose West. They've overlaid it. I'll make a video on that soon. William Palmer, never heard of him. Mary Bell I've heard of. Mary Ann Cotton I haven't. Ruth Ellis I definitely have. I think she was the last woman. Yeah, last woman executed in the UK. We got John George Hay, English serial killer, the acid blood murderer. Shipman, another disgusting piece of shite. And Sutcliffe. Vile. Wait. So, I don't think any of those prisoners have actually been here. So, does this bring me out into C? C wing. Let's have a look. So, I went to do a lone vigil in A wing, and everyone turned up in A wing. I've gone over to C wing, which is notoriously the most haunted one, and there's nobody here. I seem to have C wing all to myself. Now, I was over here with the team earlier. They had spirit boxes, REM pods, EMF meters. They were all going off, seemingly to the questions.
I'm not sure much I believe in it, but it was kind of cool to watch. I may even put a bit in this video. But there was no fakery going on, so there's a big difference between the fake stuff and, are people reading equipment right? So, what is notoriously the most haunted cell here, as I was told earlier, is cell 3. So apparently, security were pushed out of cell 3. She felt pushed out. So this was the women's wing, and also later on, what they would call the nonce wing. Cell 3, reportedly the most haunted cell in this entire prison, considered the haunted wing. Many inexplicable incidents in this wing reported by officers, prisoners and members of the public today. Many officers would refuse to work in this wing alone at night, reporting they saw a grey lady emerge from this cell. Making her way across the landing towards the execution room at the bottom, which is where I started tonight. Could she be a prisoner or an officer? So, people feel off in this cell. Don't feel good. So, I'm in cell 3. I've gone completely lights out. This is the cell. Cell 3 is supposed to be the most haunted cell in this place. So, I've come in here, I've turned the lights off. I'm just going to call out. Is anyone in cell 3 with me? The grey lady here? If you could hear a voice, then it's coming from A block. The noise is just travelling so bad here. If you're going to try to speak to me tonight, you're going to have to speak loud and clear in this room. So could you tell me your name? My name is Dale. Not so much the sound is travelling, I can hear somebody's spirit box in cell in A wing. Could the lady in grey come forward please and tell me her name? Why do you haunt this cell? Were you executed here and that's why you're seen walking towards the executioner's room? Could you knock on something in this cell please? Like this? I'm pretty sure I have just heard somebody over this direction in a different part of the prison, so I've just heard knocks. Not that time. So apparently you pushed a female officer out of this room. She felt hands on her back. Somebody just come up here.
Right, they've gone into the execution room. So we're probably going to hear their voices. So the lady in grey is rumoured to come out of this cell and walk up this stretcher corridor towards the execution room. So could you leave cell 3 and make your walk to the execution room, please, like many have reported you doing? Could you show me that? Yeah, I can hear every word that's being said up there. So there's a team just gone in the execution room up there. I can hear them talking. I can hear people talking in A block. I've been able to hear spirit boxes, and relying on any sort of audio here tonight is just not possible. So I'm relying on visuals, because there's a lot of things seen here. It's just hard to get into investigation mode when there's just so much noise contamination. You've got the train station, you've got a club just down the road, which isn't that loud, to be fair. The train station's pretty loud. But you can discount all of that while you're investigating, but you finally think you're alone somewhere and then people walk through. It's not the organisers' fault, you know, they're not here to just facilitate me. They've got a lot of people here that they're trying to facilitate. And it's just unfortunate that locations like this are too expensive for somebody like me to hire out. You know, it's a couple of, I think it's over £1,000 to hire this for the night. So event companies can afford it and then sell tickets on and bring people in and do experiments. And those are fun experiments if you've got a passing interest in the paranormal. But for me to come here and try and do a proper investigation is just, it's not working for me. I'm not having a go at Haunted Echoes at all. I mean, they were very kind to invite me along. Make sure that I got an exclusive interview with the staff and a walk around at the beginning. It's just the sound that's unmanageable, you know. So I've got my back to your cell now, lady in grey. Could you walk out behind me? Make your walk. So I've come back into cell 3, the most haunted cell, or reportedly most haunted cell. I'm not going to call out, I'm just going to sit here, chuck the IR on as high as it will go. Face the camera to the door and see if we capture anything. I'll call out any sounds that are, you know, other people in the building. There's nothing but sound. There's a club somewhere, I can hear that. People outside. That's how you win, you can hear. Or the execution room. It's So I can hear very clear footsteps. And that's not in this wing. There's a door. So we sat here for a while. All the noises you can just write off for other people being here. There's the camera staying at the door, just trying to will a grey lady into existence, and nothing. Didn't expect it to be. I think I'm more disheartened because I didn't realise how bad the contamination here was going to be. There was a train going past just now, really loud. I can hear people talking outside of a pub or club. I can hear the guys in the execution room. I can hear guys walking around in a wing. But at the end of the day, this is an event night, not a paranormal investigation night for everyone else, really. There's some small teams hoping to do investigations here, but noise is a problem, I'm afraid. So, Lady in Grey, can you show yourself in that door, please? Walk past that door for me. Were you innocent? Were you guilty? Were you executed? There's a voice in between there that should be shouting outside. Or were you a guard here? Maybe you died doing your job? Is that why you look like a lady in grey? Because it's your prison uniform? Secondly, there's somebody's REM pod going off on a whim. I think REM pods are kind of useless here, really. Train station so close. And there's a club. Okay. And there's a club close by, so the doorman will have radios. Are there any prisoners here with me? Are there any guards here with me? Were you innocent? Were you guilty? Were you a dirty, stinking nonce? Because nonces were kept in here. You're the lowest of the low. Anyone that hurts children are the lowest of the low. Whoever's in this cell is supposed to be violent and can shove people. Shove me because I think you're a piece of shit. Because right now, if I had an airbed, I bet I could sleep here unbothered. I'm gonna go and have a vape, something to eat and a drink. Because I'm frustrated myself because I can't investigate properly. And I brought all these things with me with windometers and tools to debunk, tools to investigate, and I haven't really used any of it apart from in the governor's office. The only place I've used any of it was the governor's office because it seemed a bit quieter. I'm trying to spend sort of 40 minutes to an hour in each place, but people keep walking through, or you can keep hearing outside noises, inside noises. It's kind of hard to stay motivated to do like 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm going to take you guys on a little walk with me. Jesus fucking... There's a step there. This is why you use a red light, something I learned from Steve from the Ouija Brothers. Doesn't ruin your night vision, doesn't ruin your vision, as in away from the camera. I mean, it looks cool, don't it? It looks really cool. It's just a shame that there's so much noise. We'll walk back across through C down to E. I'm not a ghost.
You haven't seen Evan Paul, have you?
Haven't seen.
Yes, Evan Paul.
There's people in execution, but I don't know who they are.
One were erected.
There's more than two of them.
We've listened to you guys.
Oh. I mean, that's half the problem, is they're calling out so... Half the problem there is those guys are calling out so loud the entire fucking prison can hear it. I'm staying away from the church. I don't like churches. Right, what's in here? Prison's health. That's me. I'm not a ghost. So I've come back over to A block. I've had some food and a drink. Come back over to A block. We've got the IR binoculars there, looking up the corridor. There's just people coming through a door at the end. You see them there. So you're able to see them there. I've got my night vision binoculars on. This is fucking impossible. I'm in A block. I've got the night vision binoculars looking right down the other end. There is a team upstairs somewhere calling out, so I'm not going to be looking at noise. Just hoping we can capture something, because these binoculars, I don't know if this camera is going to pick it up. No. You'll see it on screen anyway. The zoom's quite good on them, the focus is good on them. It's not 4K, it's like 2.5K, but the zoom on it is incredible. It's a very clear image for such a far distance. The IR is quite powerful on there. So I'm just going to film up the corridor. See if something walks past while I'm sat here filming myself. So I'm just going to do a quick check of the time. So it's nearly 1 AM. It's nearly 1 AM. So just got the binoculars. This is going to be my last stretch, I think. I'll go till about 1:30 here. Just filming up the corridor on the IR binoculars. See if they can pick some shadow figures or something. While I sit here ignoring the people up there. So is anyone here with me now? Could you go and play on the foosball table? There's a table football there. And so there's table tennis there and like a stand-up football table there. Right, there is somebody coming towards me with a torch on. So this is so I've been trying to film up the hallway, trying to film behind me. There's just people everywhere. Every time I find somewhere quiet to film, people just keep walking around. Ignore the footsteps above me, somebody's just gotten up. So I was hoping to do this last stint with the binoculars pointing up that way to see if anything walks in front of them. This is impossible. This is impossible. People are just being way too loud, letting it carry the whole building. Yeah, I'm calling this here. It's pointless.